candidate.
What's your bar for success?
Bar for success, I want to form a government.
But is anything less than that a failure?
I'm here to become, if I have the honor of the support of the people watching this program, I'd like to become Prime Minister of Canada.
One of the things that came up on the debate night was the whole issue of coalition and what would happen if the country was in another minority government situation. And I want to probe that for a bit. Because in 2008-09, you signed on for the idea of a coalition. In this campaign, you said, no coalition under any condition. Why did you change your mind?
The coalition thing in 2008, I just came to the conclusion that it was not in the national interest. I turned it down.
You initially turned it down, but you ended up signing it.
I signed, but I had the choice of actually forming a coalition and turned down. I could be sitting here talking to you as Prime Minister and chose not to do that because I thought it wasn't in the national interest. So I rejected the coalition in 2008, and I've gone into this election in 2011 firmly excluding a coalition. Mr. Harper has had negotiations about coalition in 2004 with Mr. Duceppe and Mr. Layton, not me. Because I tell you what the matter of principle here is, Peter. It's extremely important as people go into the election to know exactly what they're voting for. I want people to know that if they vote for the Liberal Party, they're voting for a Liberal government composed of Liberal members of Parliament putting in plan the Liberal Family Pact, which, means, a learning passport so kids can get a college and university education.
But you can negotiate that on a coalition. I mean, what's wrong with a coalition? Why has it suddenly become such a dirty word when, in most Western democracies, coalitions are thriving?
I've always said that coalitions are legitimate, but I think at this election, it's absolutely crucial for people to know what you're voting for. If you're voting for the Liberal Party of Canada, you're not actually also voting for Jack Layton or Gilles Duceppe. You're actually voting for the Liberal Party of Canada. That's why we've taken this position, because we think we owe it to the people to be absolutely clear and to make it clear afterwards. So, when the people make up their mind, they know what the route map here is. If I get most seats if I have the honor to get most seats, our party gets most seats, then we get to form a government and we'll present
Actually, you get the first try, in your words.
Exactly. That's how the system works.
Why did you pick that word, try?
Because
you were talking about the reverse. If Stephen Harper it was in a minority situation, he would get the first try. Why did you use that word, try?
Because those, Peter, are the rules of the system. The party that comes out with the most seats gets to form a government, and then they go to the House of Commons and they seek the confidence of the House. It's the two-stage process, and that's the way the system is always work. And I want to play by those rules. I expect Mr. Harper to play by those rules, and that's how it'll go.
Mr. Layton told me last night that if that was the situation, he'd be fully prepared to sit down with Stephen Harper and try to work out some kind of an arrangement, just as he would to sit down with you and Gilles Duceppe and anybody else who might be represented in the House.
Well, that tells you that Mr. Layton is preparing to be in opposition. Mr. Duceppe is preparing to be in opposition.
I mean, in fairness, he was asked of that particular scenario. So the same question, goes to you. If that was the scenario, and Mr. Harper had the most seats but couldn't win the confidence of the House, what would happen?
We cross that bridge when we come to it, in the sense that
But you said Canadians need to know what the different parties would do in a situation like that.
All right, let's run it right out so we're all clear. If Mr. Harper wins most seats and forms a government but does not secure the confidence of the House, and I'm assuming Parliament comes back, then it goes to the Governor General. That's what happens. That's how the rules work. And then if the Governor General wants to call on other parties, or myself, for example, to try and form a government, then we try and form a government. That's exactly how the rules work. And what I'm trying to say to Canadians is, I understand the rules, I respect the rules, I'll follow them to the letter, and I'm not going to form a coalition. What I'm prepared to do is talk to Mr. Layton or Mr. Duceppe or even Mr. Harper and say, look, we got an issue here, how do we solve it? Here's the plan I want to put before Parliament. This is the budget I would bring in, and then we take it from there.
Do you think that you would have to have at least a certain number of seats as the second place party to try to make something like that happen?
Peter, I'm not, it really matters what the folks watching this program do on the 2nd of May. I'm not only confident about the outcome, I'm serene about the outcome, and I'm also feel, this is a very important thing, I think, for Canadians, to feel confidence in the stability of the system whatever happens. You know, all of us have a loyalty to our country. We have a loyalty to make the system work. And when the people watching this program give us our orders, which they will do on the 2nd of May, you know, I carry them out.
But how does that fit with that ad we talked about at the beginning? This fear of absolute power, this dark days that could be possible if Stephen Harper formed a majority, which I've got to assume is what you're talking about in terms of absolute power. But you would just sign off and say, that's fine, away we go.
Well, Peter, what question are you asking me here? If the people,
well, I'm asking you why you're running that ad.
If the people decide, that's how the people decide, and I respect that. But I think it's absolutely legitimate in a political campaign to present clear, absolute choices. I don't, you know, and this is a personal thing for me, and I think it's also felt by the millions of people who support our party. We don't trust him with power. We don't trust him with the health system. We don't trust him with the economy. And we need to say that clearly to Canadians. And we feel there are millions of Canadians who feel exactly the way we do. And come May 2nd, we want them to know that's what it's at stake. I've run a campaign based on hope, appealing to hope. I mean, practical hope. You know, if you want your kids to get to college and university, vote Liberal. If you want early learning and childcare for your family, vote Liberal. If you want a Canada pension plan you can vote for, vote Liberal. These are positive, hopeful things we want to offer on the 2nd of May.